Bishop Curry, it's really an honor and a privilege to meet you, and we're very excited at Spiritual Directors International to have you join our conference in Niagara Falls, May 29th to 31st, as our main keynoter. And I wondered if you could take a few moments to introduce yourself to the SDI community, and perhaps to speak a little bit to the theme of our conference, which is how to maintain and maintain our spiritual grounding and navigate through the increasing difficulties that we find ourselves in without falling into, exhaustion and despair, from your perspective.
Sure. Well, thank you. Thank you, one, for the invitation to be able to be with you and the rest of the community that will come together in the end of May in Niagara Falls. It'll be a real honor and a privilege and a blessing for me to be able to be with you. It really will be. And part of that does, for me personally, reflect sort of my own journey, which is to say that I grew up in Buffalo, New York, which is just across the street, so to speak, from Niagara Falls. And one of my fond memories or memory was every time relatives came from anywhere else, we always had to go to Niagara Falls to see the actual falls. I mean, every time. And when we were kids, we say, "Do we have to go to see the falls again?" That was just sort of the way life was. But getting older and realizing the majesty of those falls, I mean, they really are. They're incredible. Is a realization that even though it was sort of a headache for us to always go see the falls, living with that reminder that closely that there was something greater than we as individual people, that greater reality for me really is defined like the New Testament says as love. The Bible says God is love, and there are different ways to say that and understand that, but for me personally, over the years, as I'm now retired, after some 47 years of active ordained ministry, I've found that staying as centered as possible, or being as centered as possible, or as close to that as possible, has helped to ground me through some turbulent times. And we are living in some uncertain, turbulent times, regardless of what country we come from, what our politics happen to be, regardless of our ethnicity, our socioeconomic status, our sexual orientation. I can go through the whole list of everything. Regardless of all of that, these are uncertain and turbulent times, and we've certainly been through those as the human family before. There's no question about that. And yet, growing up near Niagara Falls, just a sign that there is something greater than all of us that we are a part of. And realizing that if I can live my life close to that, close to God for me, if I can be close to God, like there used to be a song, Just a Little Closer with Thee. If I can do that, my grandma loved that song. If I can do that, I can walk through whatever life throws at me, whatever comes my way. Doesn't mean it'll be easy, but it means you can do it. That for me has been being centered there whenever I can be, and I don't always get it right. I don't. But I know that center place, that still place, Howard Thurman used to call it that still place is there. And if we can dwell there and invite others into companionship there, it doesn't matter what the storms around us are, because the storms will come and will go. That's just the nature of life. Don't ask me why. It just is. But the center place, that still place, that quiet place, that reality that is greater than all of us, that we are a part of, that is the place where we will find the peace which passeth all understanding. And so I look forward to being with fellow travelers, as the old folks say. It used to be an old spiritual. We are weary fellow travelers, and joining with other weary fellow travelers, we shall join hands and walk together in God's peace and find that peace which passeth all understanding.
I wonder if I can ask a quick a quick follow-up question, very, very quickly,
Yeah.
is, with your 47 years of experience as an active minister and more to come,
Mhm.
how do you, just a little tip or a little hint of how do you tend to yourself as a spiritual caretaker to others most of the time? How do you make space and time to tend to yourself? And maybe, just a little tip. I know you'll talk more about this
Mhm.
conference itself.
Well, I mean, one thing that I have done over the years, now with greater or less success, it probably isn't the right word, but greater or less degree of effectiveness or faithfulness sometimes, is to try to, while I don't live in community, I'm not in, I don't live in a monastic community. One of the things I'm aware of, one of the wisdom of of monastic communities centered on prayer is that the rhythm of the day is defined not by the hours on the clock, but by the times of prayer, of meditation, of sitting and being in the presence of that which is greater than all of us. And none of us gets that perfectly. I mean, we don't. And yet I have found that the more attentive I am to that, it does help me to um, remember Niagara Falls. Remember that which is greater than myself, of which I am a part, but that which is greater. Um, and that has helped. And during the pandemic, and I'll talk about that when we're together. During the pandemic, that came to the fore even more. It was those habits of hours or times of prayer, and just doing the best you can to live into those during the course of the day, even for those of us who live a busy day. It can be done, or at least we can strive. We don't have to arrive, but we can strive.
Yeah.
And one day we will arrive.
Yeah.
But on this side of Jordan, as the old folk used to say, the best we can do is to strive.